I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about the 3 lines that will be important for you to draw as you proceed from here. And you will learn from Daniel how he marched to a different drummer, the lines that he drew that helped him become a world changer. The first is this: he drew the line of resistance by training his appetite. He trained his hungers. There was nothing wrong with eating at the king's table. He could have had a banquet night after night, day after day, and enjoyed it. After all, he could have seen it as God's provision for him. A few weeks ago, I had a marvelous opportunity of speaking at the State Prayer Breakfast in Honolulu in Hawaii. You know, those are very hard invitations to turn down. It's interesting, shortly before that, the week before, I was speaking in Iowa. And every time people ask me, where were you going? I said, well, I was heading to Iowa to speak at the prayer breakfast. And they said, we'll be praying for you. Following week, they said, where are you going? I said, to the Hawaiian prayer breakfast. They said, have fun. That's the kind of image people have. Go there and have fun. But you know, in the itinerant life, there are these allurements, there are the seductions. Why would one want to go to Saskatoon in February when you can end up going instead to Honolulu and enjoy the scenery then? If you have a resistance to winter, you'd rather be in the Hawaiian temperatures rather than having to get attired 3 or 4 layers of clothes. We move towards the direction of our comfort. We do. But the important thing is how God reminds us never to get so comfortable with comforts that it is the comfort principle that ends up driving all that you do. Here is a man who trained his appetite, training his longings, training his hungers. And the marvelous thing is this: how he reminded himself again and again that he did not want to get spoiled by all that the king would afford to him and give to him. Instead, he disciplined himself and backed away from even that which could have been all right for him to enjoy, but he resisted it for a greater and a higher call. I want to talk to you a little bit about training your hungers. The truth of the matter is that we make small decisions in the early days of our lives that often can put some deep desires within us that are not good for the long run and the long haul. I remember some years ago when I got a telephone call at 11 o'clock at night. My worldview changes after 9 p.m. I'm an early to bed guy. By 9 p.m. I don't want to discuss anything serious with anybody. I'd rather do it at 4 or 5 in the morning than after 9 p.m. So if anybody calls me after 9 or 9:30, I assume it's pretty urgent. I recognized the voice, and he said, Ravi, you awake? I said, not really. I was awakened by this telephone. He said, can I talk to you? I said, yes. He said, I want you to pray for me. I'm in trouble. I'm in serious trouble. This man was a medical doctor. He functioned in the emergency room. He said, tonight they brought a young woman in, so badly beaten, so brutalized, almost every major bone in her body was broken. And as she was wheeled in by the paramedics, they said, Doc, she's too far gone. There's nothing you can do. He said, I looked at her battered body and I thought, this can't be it. I'm going to do my best to rescue her. He said, I got scrubbed, called my team around me, and he said, the only hope I had was to give a direct heart massage. I slit the side of the rib cage, put my hand into that chest cavity so that I could hold the heart in my hand and keep pumping it to see if I could get some life back there. He said, just turned like blubber into my hands. And he said, I walked away from there and I thought, what happened? Who did this to her? What was it all about? He said, I was washing my hands literally with my eyes filled with tears. And the nurse comes with a bag full of paraphernalia, empties it onto a table, and she says, Doc, you better take a look at this. It was all drug-related stuff, used needles and all the junk that was in that bag. He said, as I was looking at that, I was wiping my hands dry when I noticed He said, I had nicked my finger when I put my hand into the rib cage. He said, I've cut myself and I have made contact with terribly diseased blood. And he said, I'm a young father. I want you to pray for me. I said, is the cut deep? He said, no, it's about a paper-thin cut. I said, you're telling me that a paper-thin cut like this could put you in jeopardy for a disease that would take away all of your resistance to any other disease? He said, it doesn't take anything more than that. It doesn't take anything more than that. And I thought when I hung up and woke up the next morning reflecting on it, the first thought that came to my mind, first thought, can we put paper cuts to our soul early in life? Can we entertain a habit? Can we begin a relationship? Can we make a choice? Could it be one evening that lacerates you in such a way that puts a different kind of hunger into you and the destruction process can set in? To you young men especially, I want to give you this challenge. There are people out there with businesses and productions and ideas whose sole purpose is to cut you in your soul and get you hooked and reprogrammed so that you will then have hungers and passions and desires that no one human being on the face of the earth can ever fulfill. All they end up doing is framing your mind and creating within you a kind of imagination that is ultimately insatiable, never, ever satisfied.